wow, there's people out here and I can see them in hostels with their MacBooks out of the hostel desk, and they don't need to go back because they can just carry on earning while they're out there.
The problem that most people have, I think, when they first start out is that they're trying to...
But that feeling of going up and realising that while I've been sat enjoying myself by the pool, not thinking about work, I'm still earning money because my business is still generating sales.
Welcome to the Dropship Unlocked Podcast, where we unlock the secrets to high-ticket dropshipping and achieving financial freedom. I'm Lewis Smith, founder of Dropship Unlocked, and I'm joined by James Eardley, client success coach at Dropship Unlocked. Each episode, we'll be sharing our experiences and providing you with the tools you need to build a successful e-commerce empire of your own. From zero to owning £1 million online business, we'll help you achieve the ultimate freedom over your time, location, and financial future. And when we're not recording the podcast episodes or running our own e-commerce businesses, you'll find us helping people like you launch their own high-ticket dropshipping businesses. To learn more about working with us, head over to dropshipunlocked.com/free. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to access your full potential with the Dropship Unlocked podcast. Hi, and welcome to the podcast. So in today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the laptop lifestyle. Now, you might be thinking, I've heard that term before, but what does it really mean? And is it even possible? Or is it just something that people on the internet talk about and kind of sell the dream, and then, you know, no one really has the ability to work from a laptop and live anywhere on the planet? Well, that was originally my thinking until I experienced it for myself. And I think even before experiencing it for myself, I saw other people doing it. So if you are in the position right now where you're thinking, I've heard about this laptop lifestyle, I'd love to be able to do it, but I have no one in my life around me that is able to achieve that or has ever done that, then this episode was designed for you to show you exactly what's possible, guide you through the strategies and tactics on how to actually set up, start, launch, and grow a business that gives you the laptop lifestyle.
Yes, we'll be talking about our experiences that we've had now that we live with the laptop lifestyle, and the experiences and the lessons that we've learned in terms of how to get there from where we were with previously in a 9-to-5 job. So whether you're on a walk now in the gym, or perhaps you're in a car on your way to your job right now, and you're dreaming about a life where you're only dependent on a laptop, that's what we're going to dive into today. So what is the laptop lifestyle, you might be thinking? Well, essentially, the way I look at it is being able to live your life, so your lifestyle, wherever you want to be in the world, but you're only dependent on having a laptop to generate that income, no matter where you are. And it's, as I say, something that Lewis and I have been able to achieve. And I think it's a brilliant breakthrough moment when you first realize that actually you can start to live the laptop lifestyle. So it's been a great experience. I'm grateful for it every day that I'm able to live that lifestyle. And Lewis, I'm sure you probably got some experiences that you can share with us from when you first realized that you're able to live the laptop lifestyle.
Yeah, I guess going back right to the beginning of first kind of uncovering this mysterious world of online business and entrepreneurship and e-commerce, some of my very earliest memories of when that penny drop moment happened for me, I think I've talked about on a previous episode, the first sale moment, and it was actually not my finest hour. I was lying in bed ill and got these 2 notifications came through on my phone telling me I'd earned more whilst being there sick in bed than I would have earned had I had gone into my job at the time. Yeah, there's a specific example that I can remember where I was in the gym in the morning and had my laptop with me. So I'd finished my workout and I went and got a coffee, and I sat in this the reception of the gym and just got the laptop out and thought I can get in maybe half an hour of work before the day begins. And just being in there and just kind of looking around at the other people, and I was just thinking, I could be doing this all day. You know, at the time I was just doing it, you know, before I would then go and start my normal job. But I just looked and thought, this is all I need. I have my laptop. And whilst I'm in this gym reception here, it wasn't the most glamorous of surroundings, but I was like, well, I could be anywhere in the planet right now and do this. All I need is here at my fingertips. And actually, all I really need is this. Like, you know, I could probably run one of these businesses now just from a phone. And I have done for weeks on end when I've gone away and refused to take my laptop because I'm like, I don't want to have that tie. So yeah, those are probably some of the earliest memories that I remember of thinking, this is kind of the laptop lifestyle, I guess. Like, I'm in a gym in the morning just working, and I'll probably earn more, you know, in the half an hour of work that I do now because of all the sales that will come through to my stores throughout the day than I'll earn in that job working all day and trading my time for money. So I remember this one time that I was on holiday in Barcelona with Becky, and she was my fiance probably at the time, and we were at this hotel in Barcelona, and we'd been out for dinner, and the next morning I was up early and went out for a run in the city to kind of explore. And I got my laptop out, I think, in reception back at the hotel, and was just kind of looking through like the orders that had come in the day before and fulfilling things and answering a couple of customer questions on some of my stores at the time. I think I had a VA at that point, early days, so they were starting to fulfill some of the orders for me. And I just thought, again, I'm only here for the weekend. I think we'd taken maybe the Friday off work, but I was like, well, why couldn't I just stay here for the whole week? You know, we at that point, as the business was growing, we were probably earning more money by staying there than we were spending on the trip. So I'd have probably come back from Barcelona after having been there for a week better off. And I think that is the moment where you kind of realize that I can run this business from anywhere in the world. I just need a laptop. And once you have a team who can take care of it, you can kind of say to that team, as I often do, I'm going to be out of contact for a while now. I remember we went on holiday to the Maldives on the trip of a lifetime. And I thought, I'm not going to let work kind of like spoil being in the moment. I really wanted to enjoy it. It was incredible. We kind of landed, went on this seaplane and flew off to this private island resort. And it was just the most incredible trip of a lifetime. And I said to my team before I go, I'm just warning you, I will be like gone for this time. I will be out of contact. You know, unless the business is burning down, then don't contact me. And they didn't. And it was amazing. I came back, and as I say, we probably made more money in that time than the trip cost. So we covered the cost of the trip, and I didn't even get involved. So I think that's the thing that a laptop lifestyle can do for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a laptop with you at all times and be working. A lot of the time, it just means that you could get anything done with a laptop or a phone. But actually, when you have a team in place and you're really a business owner and you're not just someone working on a laptop, then you can go and enjoy, you know, the time. Like I spend dinner with friends, and I know that, you know, subtly on the phone, I'll check my sales and be like, wow, we made, you know, 10 grand during that dinner or something in sales. Or I remember speaking at a conference, and while I was on stage, obviously you turn your phone off and keep it, you know, I think I gave it to Becky at the time, and came back off stage, and I was like, wow, we got all these sales notifications that had come through. And these sound like little things, but they give you that sense of autonomy, that freedom. You know, Christmas Day, for example, I wouldn't work on Christmas Day. I'd be with my family. But whilst I'm out on a walk on Christmas Day with my family, I'm still getting notifications coming through on stores because people are still buying stuff online on that day. And I think it's just knowing that I really value my routine, and I can get up and I know that I don't have to answer to a boss. I don't have to book annual leave if I want to just go traveling, you know, go to the other side of the planet. I control my life. I have full autonomy over it. And for me, I think that's what the freedom that the laptop lifestyle provides means. It doesn't mean that I need to be at a laptop at all hours of the day. It means that the laptop's there should I need it, but I've set up systems so that most of the time I don't.
I think that's it. I think you touched on there what it is for me, and what it is for probably for a lot of people is the freedom side of it. So that's really what the laptop lifestyle allows. It's the choice. So obviously, Lewis, we're not all as active as you. I know obviously a lot of the times that you seem to spend and enjoy the laptop lifestyle is when you're active, you know, going to the gym or going for a run. But that's it. You can choose to do that if you want to, or you can go away, go on holiday, travel, and do, you know, essentially sort of spend your time how you see fit. For me, when I realized that I really wanted to live the laptop lifestyle, it was when I was traveling, when I was still working a 9-to-5 job, but I actually took some time off that job to go away to New Zealand. It was right at the start of 2020, so that trip was cut short, but that's another story. But I was in New Zealand, and obviously I was having the time of my life traveling around the country, but I knew that it wasn't going to be sustainable. It was basically, I called it traveling, but it was a holiday, because I was just spending my savings to be out there. And while I was there, I wasn't earning any income because I was away from my 9-to-5 job. And I was sat there in the hostel or probably by the coast somewhere in New Zealand, looking out, thinking, I would love to do this full time without having that trip booked, the flight booked to go home when my money runs out. And that's how it was. And I looked at it and thought, how can I make this so it's something that's sustainable, so I can be earning as much as I'm spending out here, you know, or even more, and go back with more money than I left. And then that leaves me with the enviable decision that I can go back whenever I choose, instead of having to go back when my savings ran out. And that's exactly how it was. So it is actually that trip sort of sparked that in my mind that, wow, there's people out here and I can see them in hostels with their MacBooks out of the hostel desk, and they don't need to go back because they can just carry on earning while they're out there. But there was me spending my savings, knowing at some point there's a deadline. I'm watching the date getting nearer and nearer to my flight back, and then having to go back to that 9 to 5 job. And it was that freedom that I really craved.
Do you have any more plans to go traveling again? Use the freedom that you now have?
I do. Yeah, it's something, especially because it was cut short. And as soon as I realised that I had to come back after 4 weeks, where it was meant to be like a 6-month trip. As soon as I came back, I knew that I had to finish those plans off. And they were to go to Thailand. Now, I haven't been back yet to Thailand or that side of the world, but in the next year or so, it's definitely something that I want to do. And actually, not just for 4 weeks, it's going to be something where I go and I don't book a return ticket, because I just want to go and enjoy it and just go until I'm ready to come back. Essentially, and that's the way that I'll do it in the next few years.
Yeah, that the Chiang Mai I can highly recommend as a kind of a hub of entrepreneurship in Southeast Asia and in northern Thailand. It's just this amazing city where there just seems to be this kind of congregation of like digital nomads and freelancers and people who are working online and are abiding by the Tim Ferriss 4-hour work week principles and are building these incredible businesses. And it's a really nice mix. There's a similar vibe in like Bali. There are parts of, like, for example, Playa del Carmen in Mexico. There's a little bit of that as well, but nowhere quite like Chiang Mai, I don't think. Where people will argue that Medellin and places are also have a big digital nomad community, and they do. But from what I've seen, Chiang Mai kind of really is almost like a rite of passage. When you're first starting out, like, to go there and experience that is incredible. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it for you.
Thank you. I hear stories all the time of Chiang Mai, and obviously I haven't been. It was on the travel plan that I was going to go and see, and I'm sure seeing that would have sparked my digital nomad interest even more. But my imagination of Chiang Mai is that everyone swears under the oath of the 4-hour work week at the start of every morning before they start their day.
I know about that. Yeah. It's I think it's definitely had a big influence on that place. But there are lots of people there that are taking it a lot more seriously. In terms of building something much, much bigger than a business that's a 4-hour work week kind of muse. There are multi-million-dollar businesses coming out of there from lots of people that I would have been in masterminds with, for example, at the time, and would have gone out for dinner with, who are building awesome businesses and are household names in the world of like e-commerce and internet marketing and entrepreneurship that you'd have probably heard of as well. So it's a great place to be and to network in.
Yeah, and that's it. And people with the same values as we have of freedom and living from anywhere, you can then network with and get around and really get to know. And you've all sort of got that shared interest of living the laptop lifestyle. But to take you back, Lewis, to where I was when I sort of first realised that I was able to live the laptop lifestyle was the day I sort of left my job. And it was almost like just a realisation, and sort of something that you alluded to when you were in the gym and you realised that, I could actually just stay here all day if I wanted to, or go somewhere else. And it sort of creeps up on you, because I was working so hard that I sort of put it to the back of my mind about being that free, always realising that as soon as I left my job that was going to happen. And it was the first day on the Monday where I would have gone into my 9 to 5 job, and I just sat there. It wasn't on a run, not quite as active as you, but I was sat there at my desk looking at my laptop and realising that I now have complete control over where I do this work from. And I didn't have a VA in place at the time, so I knew that I still had to be somewhat tied to my laptop to make sure that I was looking after my business. But I soon learned more and more about automation and outsourcing once I'd done that. But essentially, I was still then free to live from anywhere, work from anywhere. And that free feeling really is something that I'm really grateful for now.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the benefits, obviously, of online business is that when you're running an e-commerce store like this, you don't need to serve customers in person. But actually, as the business owner, something that I think a lot of early stage e-com entrepreneurs fall into the trap of is thinking that they have to be the one who does serve the customer at all. Because the reality is the customer, as long as the customer is getting a great experience and is getting the help they need, having any product questions answered or order questions answered, they don't mind that it's not the business owner. In fact, you wouldn't expect it to be the business owner that's behind the screen answering your questions. Like, for example, if you went on live chat with Argos or Homebase, you're not expecting the CEO of Argos or Homebase to be behind the screen answering your chat, are you? So it's kind of like, once people realize that, they're like, oh yeah, of course I could, like anyone is replaceable even you as the business owner are replaceable. So the sooner you can come to terms with that, the sooner you can relinquish control, the sooner you will enjoy the lifestyle aspect of running a business like this. And I remember I was in a co-working space in Chiang Mai back in Thailand. And one morning I woke up and took the laptop on the electric scooter, went to the co-working space and set up there, had my coffee. I had one of those stands where it puts your laptop up, so that you don't kind of arch your back right over. So I'm sitting there, I've got my like virtual office set up and we're all ready to go. And I'm just working my way through orders and fulfilling orders and going through customer service emails and, loads of admin stuff. And I think I just kind of thought, hang on a second, like most of this is repeatable. Most of these questions I could just answer once and provide a template to somebody. So I had the VA there at the time who was doing some basic stuff. But I just said to them, look, could you look at all the sent items that I've sent in the inbox and just kind of use your best judgment and just get back to people in the same style that I have been. You can look back over hundreds of emails I've sent. And if you have any questions, feel free to just drop me a message. But later that afternoon, my wife and I were hiking up a mountain in Chiang Mai called DSU. So it's a really cool like trail you can take. It was called the Monks Trail, and the monks will kind of hike up the mountain up to this temple at the top, which is amazing. And I just thought, I'm going to go and enjoy doing that and be fully present while doing that with my wife and really, enjoy the time being in this incredible location. And we did, and it was amazing. And that evening I had a little bit of nerves because I was like, hopefully they've done okay and they haven't like ruined my business and wrecked our reputation. And I came back and checked the outgoing messages, the sent items, and yeah, they were all perfect. I was like, I would have written that. I would have written that. Yeah, that's exactly how I would have said it. And in certain occasions, I would look at the message and be like, I wouldn't have even thought to write it like that, but that's such a good way of resolving the issue. And they'd even liaised like with the suppliers and found out answers that we needed for questions of products. And I looked at it and just realized my inbox was at zero. Whenever you see inbox at zero, you're like, there's such a feeling of calm, just like, we're on top of it. We've got it. And especially when you haven't been the one that got your customer service inbox to zero, it just means that you can enjoy time away from the business without guilt and that you can really enjoy it. So yeah, I don't know if you've got any other examples of trips that you've been on where you've kind of experienced that as well.
Yeah, I have. And that's like the true laptop lifestyle that we're talking about. And it took me a little while to get to that stage. As I mentioned, I first left my job and I suddenly had all this time. And so I carried on working on the customer service for a little bit of time. In hindsight, I probably should have hired a VA a little bit sooner so I could really be free. So I can learn from that mistake now. And I'd advise other people to get VAs on board much sooner than I did. But initially I worked on my business and I was still a little bit tied to my laptop to make sure that I was there for customers, etc. Then I hired a VA and it was in the summer. I remember clearly it was because I had a holiday to Cyprus planned. And partly because of that reason, I realized that, come on, I need to go on holiday. I need to take some time off work. I need to have a break. And the only way I realized I was going to be able to do that is if somebody else was in place to look after the orders, look after the customer concerns, queries, that sort of thing. So I hired the VA and then a week later, I went off to Cyprus. So it was a real sort of test straight away for my processes that I'd set up essentially for my VA to work on, and a test of this newfound freedom that I had. And so I picture this. So I'm out in Cyprus on one of these all-inclusive holidays that are lovely because all we want to do is lie by the pool or by the beach and do nothing other than sip cocktails and eat as much food as you can possibly manage. And so I sat there by the pool knowing that I just set my VA off for the rest, look after the store, essentially look after the emails with the processes that I put in place. And I went back up to my room at about lunchtime. And as you say, I had the same feeling where I checked the inbox to make sure that everything's, fine. There's no fires that have been started while I've been enjoying myself down by the pool. And the inbox was at zero. My VA had cleared up everything. The orders had been fulfilled that were outstanding. Tracking numbers had been sent to customers. And I had just like a single invoice to pay to make sure that everything was still running smoothly and that I wasn't holding anything back. And obviously now I'm able to outsource even more than that, and I wouldn't even need to check at lunchtime. But that feeling of going up and realizing that while I've been sat enjoying myself by the pool, not thinking about work, I'm still earning money because my business is still generating sales. Customers are still being served at a high level and everyone's a winner as well. And my VA is happy because I've given him work and he's doing a great job as well. And so that was sort of the first realization straight away that suddenly I can be enjoying myself, not thinking about work at all, but still earning more than I'm spending at the same time. And that was the first feeling. And I've gone on to more trips after that. But that feeling, Lewis, I mean, you can probably still picture it when you think about it, that first realization that, oh my God, I'm not needed to still earn earn this income without needing to be at my laptop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it still happens to this day. I was in Paris with some friends a couple of weekends ago, and we were all out there for this trip, and it was good fun. Like, people took a few days off before the weekend, and then we spent the full weekend out there. We got the Eurostar there from London, and I just remember that I was thinking whilst we were on that train, I hope everything kind of runs okay. And it takes me back to the way that I've set up tasks and standard operating procedures, or SOPs, for my team in the past. And it's that I always take the mindset of do a task 100% as good as you want it done. So make sure you do not skimp on it the first time. Really do the task how you want it to done. So a good example is payroll, right? When I'm paying my team, we've got like 11 people now across the team, and I need to pay everyone on the same day. I map it out exactly how I want it done perfectly. You could replace that task with like uploading a product or creating a blog post or, anything like that. You do it 100% of your ability and give it everything, but document every single step of it. So it's very process driven. When you then pass it to a VA and assign it to them as a task that repeats and that they do each day or each month, then you can be confident that it's going to happen at least 90% as good as you did it, even if they don't quite make it exactly how you wanted it, at which point you just go in and tweak the process so that it is 100% every time. And that way, that one time that you did it properly really counts in the future. And so when I was there, I was in Paris, I was with my friends, and one of my friends who's also a business owner and entrepreneur, so he was there, didn't need to book any time off work. But the other guys that were there had all had to take like annual leave off work. And so, some of them were like checking their phones and emails and stuff. And I was just kind of sitting back and just enjoying the trip. We went out, had some great food, had a couple of really good nights out, and we went to this cafe the next morning after a little bit of a heavy night, so sore heads. We went to go and get some coffees and some croissants, and we were sitting at this cafe. And again, didn't take my laptop, just got my phone out and just kind of went through and went, oh yeah, I need to do payroll. And like the click of maybe 5 buttons on my phone, everyone in the team was paid for the month, and it was done because I'd put a system in place that only required me to do a very tiny part of it manually myself, and the rest of it happened. And it was the same on that trip. I, paid everyone and came back probably having made more money in the sales that we had across all of our businesses than we left with. And you just think, just little things like, if it's adding tracking numbers to deliveries for orders or answering customer questions on a product page that you want it done properly, and you think, I'm going to do this one right the first time so that people can then follow it within my team and get it done properly from then onwards. And so I think that's the thing, that depending on your stage of life, the laptop lifestyle term can mean different things to different people. For me, a few years ago, it was like the laptop lifestyle meant sitting by the pool in Bali. It meant living the digital nomad, location independent dream in Chiang Mai. But for members of our program, like I sat down with Jared fairly recently, and he talked about one of the things that the laptop lifestyle had enabled him to do was get a dog. His partner and he had got a dog, and you're like, yeah, I didn't really think about that. But if you're at a 9 to 5 every day, it's not really fair to have your dog just sitting at home on their own, right? So there are all these things. And now the life stage that I'm at currently is I've got 2 young boys. I've got 2 children. And so the other day I took both of my sons out to the park on a weekday just because I can. It's, it's nice and quiet then because most people are at work. And it's just nice that you're able to do that. It doesn't mean that I need to have my laptop at the park and that I'm working on it. It just means I can come home and I'll sit down at a desk in my office, in here and get on with some work. But it's not, I don't need to do it at any particular time. I control when I work on it. And I think it's that level of freedom that's even more important for me now. So I don't know if have you got any more tips on how you can become more free with e-commerce, James?
Yeah, 100%. And it's, for me, it was like a journey. So as I've described, I wasn't so good at it initially in terms of outsourcing and really automating all the processes that I had in my business. But something that I got good at, and I'd say I'm quite good at this point now, is being able to put together, as you described, a clear process for every single task that we do as a business. So as long as I've done it once, I document it all through the first time, record myself doing it with a free tool, or if you want the premium service of Loom, just record your screen and record yourself going through a process. Once you've done that once, which might take you 10 minutes, 20 minutes to do and record, you upload it into your system that you use for your business, and suddenly your VA can just follow you at their own speed. They can pause that video, go through the process and do it, repeat it over and over again as many times as they need to do it.
Loom's incredible for that. That just to add to that as well, Loom is amazing. And we do a combination of Loom videos, and then we document the steps out in Asana as well. But you can use anything like monday.com or whatever task management system you want to use, or project management system. But it's that kind of combination of, okay, here's a visual screen share, here's audio over the top, and then here's written format. So there's no ambiguity on how that task gets done, right?
Well, that's it. We've both been employees before. We know that all you want as an employee essentially is just to be given it what you need to do, and then they can just turn up each day and go through that set of tasks. So now that I'm in the stage where I'm an employer, I know exactly what my employee wants, and they want a list of the tasks to go through, and also they've got the audio that I've recorded myself going through it, and the video to follow as well. So there's absolutely everything there. So it means I could be anywhere, traveling or in bed or wherever I want to be, and they can do that task 100 times over without needing to contact me to find out how to do certain things. And that's something that I certainly got better at recently. That was tested most recently on a trip to Madrid that I only went to last week. And while in Madrid, now I've got full confidence that my VA can run everything for me. Just a 3-day trip. But while I was out, I think I was at the stadium tour at the Real Madrid stadium, the Bernabeu, and I'd gone there in the morning, checked out the stadium. Awesome place, by the way, recommend it. And by the time I got back to the hotel, you just check your phone, check your laptop, just to keep an eye on things, knowing full well that it should all be looked after. And it was only one email, and that was from my VA to say all customer service tasks are completed. Customers have all been updated if there's any ongoing questions from customers, and all orders have been fulfilled. Here's the invoice from one supplier that needs to be paid today so that we don't hold up the delivery. If you can pay this, and then we can get that moving. And essentially it was about, like you say, 5 clicks of a button, 6 or 7 clicks on your phone just to pay that invoice. And that was my work done for the day, and everything else was looked after. And I could go off to the Plaza Mayor, I should know how to say it, as soon as I've just been there. Went down to the square in Madrid and had the night drinking sangria and eating paella in the square there, and enjoying myself. So yeah, this is it. And it's just about putting processes together. Once they're done once, then your VA can be given those and look after that for you wherever you are. So I've come a long way since the days of my 9 to 5. But where would you suggest that people get started, Lewis?
I think you've got to start off initially with extreme focus on one particular strategy. That's the problem that most people have, I think, when they first start out, is that they're trying to kind of half do several different things. They've got so many shiny objects that they can see. This world of online business is so tempting. But for me, it was about picking a model that I wanted to work. So for me, it was high ticket dropshipping. I wanted to make it work in the UK market. There wasn't a set model for how to do it in the UK market at the time, hence why we created Dropship Unlocked. But I used to go to the gym in the morning and then just get the laptop out straight after, so I could get a couple of hours of focused, dedicated building time in before my day job started at the time. Then after the day job, I would go to Cafe Nero in London, because it was the only coffee shop locally to me that would be open until midnight. All the others shut at like 7 p.m. or something. So I used to sit there in the evenings, just kind of like uploading products to my stores and getting everything up and running and built, so that I was able to eventually say, I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing it for one reason, and it's so that I can eventually leave my job and then use it to travel. And then, later you can do other things. Like we've built Dropship Unlocked now, which is a totally different kind of business, equally awesome, also online. And it's amazing, how rewarding a business like that can be. But none of it would have been possible had I not had that really focused period of time where I just went all in on one thing. And it's important to remember that when you do achieve the laptop lifestyle, whatever that means for you, might mean working in a coffee shop in Thailand. It might mean working by the pool at a rooftop bar in Vietnam, or on the beach in Mexico. Or I can actually say that the reality is, although those things sound cool and people like to put images of themselves working at the beach and stuff in the digital nomad world, it's actually very impractical. You can hardly see the screen. You get sand in the keyboard. It's a bit of a nightmare. Like, it's not really a conducive work environment to getting stuff done. But the reality is, you're not working by the pool. You're not working by the beach. If you're a business owner, you're enjoying your time there. You are able to do things like, I used to have this cloud of guilt that followed me when I first, say, achieved the location independence that I have today, because I used to almost feel like there's a boss watching me and I shouldn't be doing this in the middle of the day. I don't know if you have that dark cloud that kind of follows you sometimes and you're like, should I be here at 3 p.m. by the pool just drinking a margarita and chilling? Like, you know, and I don't do that every day, but when I do it, I can now do it guilt-free because I know that I've front-loaded the work, the time, the systems, the training, the team now do that for me. You know, most of the stuff's automated, but any manual involvement is done by an amazing team whose life I've changed as well, because I've enabled them to be able to work online. You know, they can work from home. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to be working by the pool, working at the beach. It can just mean being present with your loved ones or going on a walk or doing whatever you want to do, and then getting the actual work done in a co-working space or in a home office. But yeah, whatever the laptop lifestyle means for you, just remember that if you focus on one particular strategy and one particular model, you absolutely can achieve it too. Just a quick heads up, if you'd like to share your questions, stories, successes, or challenges, you can email us directly at podcast@dropshipunlocked.com. And you never know, we might even feature you on the next podcast episode.
Also, if you want access to today's show notes or any of the resources we've mentioned in the episode today, then head over to dropshipunlocked.com/podcast. We also have a small favour to ask of you. If you enjoyed the show so far, you could take a minute to leave us a rating and review on your podcast platform of choice.
You wouldn't believe how much your reviews help us grow the podcast. We'll even read out some of our favourites on the next episode. So if you want to be featured on the show, please do go ahead and leave us a review today. Thanks so much for your support. We really couldn't do it without you, and we absolutely love hearing what you think of the podcast.
Okay, so we're now moving on to the section of the podcast where we're going to be answering questions from listeners. So, Lewis, I'm going to pose a couple of questions that we have in from our listeners today. And our first question that we have in today is from Simon. So Simon has asked a question that I think is on the mind of a lot of people thinking about starting, getting into dropshipping business. And he's asked, is dropshipping still a viable model even today? So Lewis, obviously some people have these concerns that perhaps it was a business model from yesteryear, but what do you think? Do you think it's still viable today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it has been viable since before even the internet existed, and it's not going away anywhere. It is a fulfillment model that suppliers and manufacturers of products are going to continue to use because it's a route to market for them. So I think the reason people think it might not be viable anymore is because they're perhaps thinking about a different type of dropshipping. They're thinking about products from China. They're thinking about the whole kind of AliExpress model where you just threw up a burner store on Shopify and would like throw some low quality products on there, run some Facebook ads and mark up the product. Like everybody knows now, and if you don't know them, you're going to soon find out the hard way. That model is starting to decline or has declined already and will be gone because people just aren't going to stand for it. They know that you're pulling the wool over their eyes. The model that we use, the home turf advantage, as we call it, where you're selling domestic products, so products from suppliers in the UK. Now, it doesn't mean they were manufactured necessarily in the UK, but they are in the UK already, directly to customers in the UK, is not going anywhere. There are more suppliers than ever now who are aware of this business model. They're familiar with the fulfillment route of retailers using dropshipping, and they're becoming more and more open to it because it's a route for them to get revenue. So why wouldn't they? If they don't adapt and they kind of just bury their head in the sand and they say, nope, we're high street businesses only, eventually the high street's going to be gone. Is kind of going that way. You just walk down your high street and look at all the closed shops and you realize that the economy and retailers have to adapt. And online shopping is the way that the market's going and has been going for many years now. So yeah, absolutely, it's still a viable model. I'd say there's more opportunity now than ever before. So they say that the best time to start a business like this was, 5 years ago. The second best time is today. So yeah, if you're contemplating it, I would just say just jump into it. I mean, we have hundreds of members at Dropship Unlocked in our program doing this, soon to be thousands of members, and they are all building businesses that use the home turf advantage model. There are thousands of different niche markets you could go into. And as the economy and online shopping just continues to grow, I think that the retailers who are taking advantage of it and are getting ahead of the curve and implementing it and becoming a leader in their space are just going to benefit more and more. So absolutely, I'd say stop procrastinating, stop overthinking it, and just dive into it, because sometimes the best way to learn is by doing it and following a proven model to do so. It's important to remember as well that dropshipping has been used for many, many years by companies that existed before the internet. Think of companies like JCPenney in America or Argos or Wayfair. a lot of the products that you buy from Wayfair, I think maybe even all of them from Wayfair, I don't know if they do stock any of their own, will come from a supplier. So you will place the order on Wayfair, they will send the order to their supplier, pay them for the goods, and the supplier will send it directly to your door. You as the consumer, if you don't know what dropshipping is, you would never have known. You received great customer service. If you've ever bought anything from Wayfair or Argos, you'll know that. And so that's the important thing to remember. It's not going anywhere. And if anything, it's just going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. Yeah, great question, Simon. Thanks for sending that in. And the second question that we have in today is from Laura. So Laura's gone down a different route, but she's also thinking about getting started. And I think, again, a common question for people. So she's asked, how much do I need to get started? So I assume, how much do I need to get started with a dropshipping business is what she's asking there. So what would you say, Laura, sort of ballpark figures?
Yeah, it's a funny one. I always say try and get the boat as close to the dock before you make the jump as you can. Don't jump out in the middle of the sea. Don't just quit your job and say, all right, I've got nothing. I'm down to my last paycheck, and I'm going to go all in on this, because whilst it can work, it puts a lot of pressure on you. Now, there is something to be said for lighting a fire and saying, hey, I'm going to make this work and I'm setting myself a deadline. That's different. And having a deadline where you have a stable income still, but by a certain date, you want to have achieved your financial goal that will allow you to then leave. So when starting a business like this, it's not like a traditional business where you need 50 or 100,000 pounds in liquid cash available to just put into like a stock taking business, or a physical premises business where you need to go and lease a huge warehouse or buy a franchise or go and hire a team. You don't need any of those things. You need a Shopify subscription, a couple of bits of software to get started, and then maybe, you don't even need a virtual assistant when you first get started. You need maybe a month of ad spend. Now, the method that we use, we recommend running ads at like £30 a day. So over the whole month, you probably spend maybe £900, but you should definitely be making sales within that month of running ads, right? Otherwise, you shouldn't be running ads. And this is all kind of explained as we go through it in our program. But what I'd say is, unless you have a few £1,000s as a safety net to start a business and make sure that you can overcome any bumps, hurdles, challenges or obstacles that you hit along the way, so say, 4, 5, 6,000 as a safety net, then I would shift my focus away from starting the business just yet and instead focus on building up that buffer, so that when you do start the business, you're not so under pressure to make it work the first time, which it never does in entrepreneurship. And you can focus more on like, how do I adapt and correct course as we go? You might waste £500 on an ad campaign that doesn't quite pan out, or you might, not sign the suppliers that you need the first time. But if you have that buffer there, it's going to make it so much easier and less stressful for you to eventually transition into doing this full time. So yeah, thank you for the question, Laura. And I think it's a difficult one to say because there's no direct answer, but I'd say unless you have a few £1,000s set aside and ready to invest in this, then think about instead focusing your time on building up to that point. And then, at that point, if you do want to do it and you want a proven route, then you can reach out to us. We'd love to help you get started, get up and running without making a year's worth of mistakes and wasting loads of money on doing so. So if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer on the Dropship Unlocked show, then please do send us your questions. You can email them to us directly at podcast@dropshipunlocked.com, and we'd be happy to answer your questions on an upcoming episode soon.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Dropship Unlocked podcast. We hope you found today's episode useful and inspiring.
Remember, if you're ready to take the next step towards creating your own high-ticket dropshipping business, our step-by-step mentorship program can help. Just head to dropshipunlocked.com/free to learn more and get started on your own journey to financial independence.
Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss another episode, and leave us a review if you've enjoyed what you hear today. We love hearing from our listeners, and we'll even read out some reviews on the next episode.
And finally, thanks for choosing to spend your time with us today. We really appreciate you, and we'll be back soon with more valuable insights and tips on high-ticket dropshipping.